It's more bad news for James Paxton as the Boston Red Sox try to make ends meet in order to make a playoff run in 2024.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's completely free. No harm in just checking it out because Locked On is your team every day, and I am here for you with all the latest in the Boston Red Sox, no matter what mood they put me in. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome to today's show, and I say the show where I talk about the Red Sox no matter what mood they put me in because it really does fluctuate based on whether this team wins or loses. You might not all be as crazy as I am, but I am crazy because I let a baseball team that plays in Boston determine my mood, and that is why I am here. So I bring you everything from analysis to the latest insight to even bringing on some cool guests on the show every once in a while. If you are new here, if you are not new here and you're an everydayer, thank you for always tuning in. And we are in the middle of the Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon, which is a very special 2-day thing that WEEI and NESN do to raise money for cancer research. The Jimmy Fund really is an organization that works diligently every single day to find a cure for cancer. And it's really special and impactful to see the amount of people that get involved. The Red Sox did do a special tribute to Larry Lucchino before the game, who was very much involved with the Jimmy Fund. And so many people have been giving money to the Jimmy Fund since 1948. It is there to benefit Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to help save lives and reduce the burden of cancer for patients and families worldwide. So it's really a special cause. And the Red Sox brought Brock Holt into the booth during the game to talk about his contributions with the Jimmy Fund, what it's like to be back at Fenway. He's just a great person, and I definitely miss having him in a Red Sox uniform, but it's a really powerful 2-day process that changes so many people's lives that are affected and impacted by cancer. So I highly encourage you to donate if you can. It affects people of all ages, families all over the place, and it's just truly a wonderful cause. So it's a really important time for that, and also for the Red Sox in terms of their playoff seeding and trying to really make a playoff run this season. Now, the Red Sox are at the point where they are one game behind the Kansas City Royals for the third wild card spot. And this next push here is going to be so important. They need to at least split the upcoming series against the Orioles at a bare minimum. Cannot be letting themselves go and get walked all over by Baltimore, as tough of a team as Baltimore is. And the benefit to it is if they can pull together at least 2 wins in that series, they could also gain some ground in the division, which would be fantastic. So this upcoming stretch here, the next 10 days or so, really is make or break for the Red Sox in terms of being able to stay in the wild card race. And one thing that certainly will, unfortunately, not help them is that James Paxton received some unfortunate news yesterday. He did tell reporters that he's been diagnosed with a partial tear of his right calf muscle. And he acknowledged that this could sideline him for the remainder of the year, but he's going to try to still rehab in an effort to make it back before the season concludes. Obviously not the news we wanted to hear when James Paxton initially had to be pulled from the game 5 pitches in on Sunday. I was really hoping for the best and hoping that the MRI would come back with a positive situation here for him in terms of being able to definitely come back and not having to be on the IL for too long. But unfortunately, that was not the case. And Alex Cora echoed his sentiment that it's a long shot for him to return in 2024. So definitely a massive blow to a Red Sox pitching staff that already has been so thin this year because of injuries, lots of guys being overworked and worked more than they initially intended to, for sure. Alex Cora did report that Cooper Criswell, once he's healthy, because he was on the COVID-19 related IL, once he's fully healthy, he will rejoin the rotation as the fifth team starter. So that could go one of two ways. He does have a 4.02 ERA on the season right now, but he has pitched a mix of both in the bullpen and as a starter, and he has had some good starts this year where he's been able to pitch lots of innings and not give up many runs. For example, he did have a start where he threw 5 innings versus the Nationals on May 11th, and he gave up just 2 earned runs in that start, and another 5.1 innings at the Rays on May 21st and gave up 2 earned runs there. So obviously those two teams aren't crazy competitive. So I definitely would like to see him be able to produce some quality starts against the competitive teams with good offenses. But overall, I mean, he has had his moments where he's shown sustainability out of the rotation. For example, 7 innings pitched on July 23rd at the Rockies. He gave up no earned runs. So that was a key start for him. So he has had his moments out of the rotation, but I would definitely like to see him be a little bit more consistent in terms of his ability to pitch 5 to 6 innings when he's out there starting, because he was a perfect guy to pitch 2 to 3 innings out of the pen. And that was one of the biggest reasons why the Red Sox traded for James Paxton in the first place, was so that he could start and they could have Criswell in the bullpen to pitch a few innings at a time. So I really liked that scenario, but unfortunately the Red Sox don't have much of a choice now because of the fact that Paxton likely is going to miss the rest of the year. So Criswell will rejoin the Red Sox rotation and become that 5th starter for Boston to go with Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, Brayan Bello, who I'm going to be talking about a little bit later again on the show, and Nick Pivetta. So that's the 5 that we're rolling with. That's the 5 that we're going to have to put our trust in moving forward when it comes to this Red Sox team and hopefully making a playoff run. But this Paxton news is obviously less than ideal. We hoped for it to turn out a lot differently when it was initially broken that he did have soreness in his right calf. So it was now confirmed that it is a partial tear, which is obviously a lot more serious. The term strain itself, by definition, indicates that there is a degree of stretching or tearing. So the announcement wasn't a complete surprise, but the fact that he's possibly facing an absence of 6+ weeks indicates that it's definitely a tear, which is the latest in just a long line of injuries that have plagued Paxton throughout his major league career. And that's what I worried about with him, was whether he could stay healthy. He did spend the 2022 and 23 seasons in Boston, but he did miss the entire 2022 season due to Tommy John surgery and returned in 2023 to pitch 96 innings of 4.50 ERA ball with more promising strikeout and walk rates. And then the Red Sox didn't extend him. He went to the Dodgers and then was traded to Boston this year at the trade deadline after he was DFA'd by the Dodgers. So he has just had a very up and down career in terms of his inability to stay on the field. But I'm hoping that Criswell can step up in that 5th spot as a starter, because early on in the season, he came to slot into the rotation for Garrett Whitlock when he faced a season-ending injury. And Criswell did a great job of stepping into that role. So the question is, can we get that version of Criswell when he comes back, which, if he's feeling fine and he's fully healthy, he could be activated as early as Friday, and then he would start on Saturday in Baltimore. And if he's not feeling 100%, then Saturday would just be a bullpen game, and the Red Sox cannot afford to do too many more bullpen games, or else these relievers are just going to get absolutely taxed. So I'm hoping he's healthy enough, and I'm hoping he's able to come out there and, quite frankly, shove, because the pressure is on now to win these games, and the Red Sox don't really have another choice but to get solid performances out of every starter moving forward. So unfortunate news about Paxton. Criswell coming in. Hopefully he is able to be the guy that can come and take care of business, because we certainly could use that. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a player who has made quite the mark in his recent call up to the Boston Red Sox and what he could bring to the table moving forward. It's always so important to stay hydrated, especially this summer when it's just been crazy hot outside with all these 90-degree days. Watching baseball games is one of my favorite things to do in the summer, but I know for me, if I don't drink enough water, I could start feeling sick. So what I've been starting to do is pair the water with liquid IV, which is a great way to stay hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like liquid IV and indulgent hydration. The cool thing about liquid IV is it comes in so many different good flavors that you can try, like cherry, popsicle firecracker, raspberry, lime, lemon, you name it. So many different ones that you can get that fit your desires, including a cool pina colada flavor, which I definitely recommend trying. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. I'm telling you, go to the store and get some of this stuff because it can work absolute wonders for you. If you're looking for a fun way to play daily fantasy sports, PrizePicks is the place for you, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And the cool thing about it is you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. That literally means turning $10 into $1,000. And math has never been my area of expertise, but that's a good amount difference. So hello, check out PrizePicks today. All you have to do is download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. It certainly is that easy. PrizePicks makes it that way for you, so you might as well check it out today. The Boston Red Sox have had to do a lot of roster shuffling lately because of all the injuries that they've faced this year and having to find ways to make ends meet and fill the holes that they've had on this roster. And because of that, there have been some guys who have been called up from AAA that have gotten their opportunity in the majors this year. And one of those players is Nick Sogard, who has just been so good out of the gate for Boston. He is a switch hitter, which makes him more desirable of a player, and he can basically be used anywhere in the field on defense. So that makes him such a threat on both sides of the ball. Being a switch hitter, I like that he's doing a mix of both, but he looks really good hitting from the left side this year, and I really like what I've seen from him so far. Has not been up for that many games, but what he has done is certainly make an impact in his time here with the Red Sox. He has hits in 7 of his first 10 games that he's played with this team and has reached base multiple times in 5 of those games. He joins Enmanuel Valdez, who had 7 multi-hit games in 2023, as the most recent Red Sox to record hits in at least 6 of their first 9 career games since Rafael Devers with 8 in 2017. He has been just unbelievable. On Monday night, he went 2 for 4 with an RBI while recording his third multi-hit game in his first 9 career games played. And then on Tuesday night, he recorded a big single late in the game that scored 2 runs for the Red Sox, allowing them to get some insurance because they were up 6-0 in this game, and then had a really bad inning where Cutter Crawford kind of fell off the bus a little bit. He had a perfect game going, and then the Red Sox put on an offensive onslaught in the bottom of the 5th inning. He came into the 6th. I think he had rested for too long and it threw him off. So he gave up 3 consecutive hits in that inning. So then they pulled him. Crawford had also issued a walk in that time. So 4 earned runs that ended up being charged to Crawford, and Cam Boozer then came in and could not find the strike zone. And it was so frustrating to see that happen because the Red Sox used to be able to rely on him a lot. So he needs to get himself back on track fast if the Red Sox are going to make a serious run this year. So he just didn't have it. So the Rangers made the game way too close, 6-4. This is important because the Red Sox have done this way too often, where the offense will put up runs and give the run support needed for a starter and everything's looking good, but then their pitching will blow it and give up those same runs that the team just scored. So it should not go from a 6-0 game to a 6-4 game that quickly. So I was on the edge of my toes. Not acceptable by the Red Sox, but they had some heroes late in the game offensively, and Nick Sogard was one of those heroes to drive in 2 runs and give the Red Sox some insurance. He has just had some very impressive plate appearances in his time with the Boston Red Sox so far. He has walked, he has recorded some hits, and it's been fun watching him play and make his mark with this Red Sox team. He is really embracing the moment. He grew up a Red Sox fan, and this whole situation is a dream come true for him. And he is just not taking anything for granted when it comes to making the most of every opportunity that he has, whether that's defensively or at the plate. And I just really like the confidence that he's exuded pretty much right from the get-go, being a guy who the Red Sox can rely on a regular basis to show good plate discipline and also show that he has the ability to find ways to get on base. And he definitely is somebody who has put pressure on opposing pitchers, and I find that he's able to drag out a lot of his at-bats and not really jump the gun to swing at a pitch, but rather stay back, settle in, and wait for the right pitch to come before he attacks. And those are the types of players that are going to pay dividends. And even if there doesn't end up being a spot for him with this Boston Red Sox team long term, there certainly will be for someone else, because he is a type of player that just being a switch hitter alone is going to allow him to grow as a baseball player, because of the fact that he can hit in opportune situations and he can hit righty or lefty depending on the best scenario at the time and who's pitching. And that's going to give him a huge leg up over other players across the league. And he certainly made a splash, and the Red Sox needed a splash because Jamie Westbrook wasn't cutting it. He has since been DFA'd, and calling up Sogard and giving him a chance to do something that he's been dreaming about for so long is such a cool moment for this guy. And this is why the Red Sox have this to their benefit when it comes to some of these guys, because when they call up a player from AAA, you don't really know how they're going to be at first. You don't know if they're going to be a guy who's going to contribute a lot, if they're going to be a guy who's going to be slow out of the gate and is going to struggle to make hard contact. You don't really know what kind of player you're going to get right away, because they're finally called up to the big leagues. Lots of pressure there. They're hyped. They have all this adrenaline, and they're ready to go out there and showcase what they can do, and that they can be the guy that the team needs to get the job done. So when Sogard was called up, I was excited to see what he could do, because he was playing really well in the minors, but that doesn't always translate. But so far for him, it certainly has translated. I thoroughly believe that he comes into these games with an attitude of I can do this. I am going to go out there and get the job done no matter what it takes. And I'm going to be that guy that's going to prove to this Red Sox organization that I deserve to be here. And they're not going to regret having me out there. And sure enough, he continuously gets into this Red Sox lineup now because he has been that guy who has made an impact in multiple ways for this team. And when you make an impact in multiple ways, they want to keep you out there. Cedar Rafaela is another good example of somebody who the Red Sox want to try to get into the lineup because he has speed. He has defensive versatility in terms of making fantastic plays in both the infield and the outfield. His offense has really improved this year. So he has a lot that he can offer. And that's what Sogard has going for him too, is an ability to offer many different skill sets in this game. So for him, the key is going to be able to maintain that. Is this just the hype of finally getting the call up and it's an early jitters thing and it's allowing him to play really well and then he's going to fall back at some point? Or is this truly the player that he is? That is something that we have to look at now as the rest of the season progresses here. Is this sustainable for him? Is this something that he can manage and be able to continue to do well? Is his plate discipline and being able to string together big hits in key situations. So I'm a big fan of Sogard. He does a lot of things well, and he has a lot of fundamentals that he can carry with him throughout the rest of his time with this team. So I'm just hoping that he is able to get himself to a place where the Red Sox feel confident playing him every single day, because that would be great as an addition for this Red Sox team. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about somebody who maybe has gotten himself back on track a little bit, at least we can hope, compared to the first half of the season. So you won't want to miss that. It's summertime, which means it's barbecue season. Stock up on all of your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibotta. So you won't have to choose between burgers or hot dogs. You can get both. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. So many savings on so many different things that you might need. So head to Ibotta today because it will have you covered. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I'm here and I don't know much about cars at all, and I'm telling you, eBay Motors is a lifesaver. So if you sound like you're in that same boat, check it out and take advantage of their services today. The Boston Red Sox are in the middle of trying to go for a big playoff run. And in order for them to do that, everybody's going to have to be doing their part and everybody's going to have to stay on track and in check. And one of the players who was seriously struggling in the first half of the season was Brayan Bello. Could not get his command down, couldn't pitch deep into games, was giving up lots of runs, and was just really not looking like the Brayan Bello that we have been used to seeing in the past. But ever since the All-Star break, he really has shown a lot more of an ability to really have command of that strike zone, and he's looked like a lot better of a pitcher. He did pitch in Monday night's game, the series opener against the Rangers, and he got a no decision, but he had a quality start, allowing 1 run on 4 hits and 3 walks over 6 innings pitched. He also struck out 5 batters. Strikeouts are still something he needs to increase a little bit more and record more of as these games progress. But a quality start for him is huge because he wasn't putting together a lot of those in the first half. That was his 8th quality start of the season and 3rd since the All-Star break. So his quality starts earlier on in the season were a lot more spread out. Now he's had more since the All-Star break over a shorter period of time. With this 95 pitch appearance that he had on Monday, it was great to see him record another quality start. And he really did look very good. He was motoring through the Rangers lineup, and it was refreshing to see. He held them to no extra base hits, as the only run he gave up came on a Marcus Semien knock in the 5th inning. Post All-Star break, he has pitched to a 3.86 ERA, 1.32 whip, and 29-11 strikeouts to walk ratio over 29 innings across 5 starts. 29 strikeouts for every 11 walks is very good. That shows that his command has gotten a lot better since the All-Star break, and a 1.32 whip. So if you don't know what whip is and what it stands for walks plus hits per innings pitched. So it basically measures the number of base runners a pitcher has allowed per innings pitched. It's calculated by adding the number of walks and hits allowed and then dividing that sum by the number of innings that pitcher pitched. So if he gave up 2 walks and allowed 4 hits, you would add those 2 together, which is 6. And then if he pitched 6 innings, you would divide that by 6, and he would be at a whip of 1, which is considered very good. 1.00 is good. 1.32 is better. So it's a great number that he's putting together there, and essentially it shows that overall he's giving up a lot less base runners than he was in the first half of the season. So there has definitely been improvement there for Bello, and I'm really happy to see the way that he's been able to really hammer down that strike zone. And another thing too, a big reason in his recent success is that he has been incorporating his fastball into his arsenal more. He has thrown the fastball on over 50% of pitches in 4 of his last 8 starts. He did not pass 50% with the fastball in terms of usage in any of his first 13 starts. He really was focusing a lot more on the off-speed stuff, and that to me was why he was struggling a lot more. He was kind of moving away from his identity of what he does well, and it's been a big difference since the All-Star break when he's been incorporating that fastball into his arsenal a lot more, and it's paid dividends for him. In 9 starts since the start of July, he's 3-0 with a 4.08 ERA, having given up 21 earned runs over 46.1 innings pitched. The big turnaround really has been since the All-Star break, but it's gradually started to happen since July, where he has started to just really take more command of his starts and throw the pitches that he is comfortable with. And he does throw 4 pitches. The slider, he has thrown 29.6% of the time, sinker 39.4%, four-seam fastball just 2.9% and a changeup 28.1%, but that 2.9% is going to continue to increase because he is utilizing that fastball a lot more. But he does have that solid 4 pitches. I think if he is able to balance them out a little bit more, use the fastball just as much as he's using the other 3 pitches, it's going to allow him to continue to be very successful with this Red Sox team. That fastball on average gets thrown at 96.2 miles an hour and has topped out at 98.4. So he has good velocity on the fastball. It's just he was missing the strike zone with it a lot of the time because he was throwing it in the strike zone 46% of the time, which is a tough number. So that was partly to do with why he was starting to do away with the fastball a little bit more, because he struggled with his command on that specific pitch. But that's something that he has started to improve over these last few starts. And it's been really nice to see him go out there and be able to absolutely shove, because that's going to be one of the biggest keys moving forward for this Red Sox team if they do want to make the postseason, is Bello's ability to get himself back on track. And we know what he can do and what he's capable of, because his last couple seasons prior to this year were very dominant. He was the Red Sox most consistent starter. He was their ace for a while, even though they didn't really have a true number one, and he wasn't a true number one. He was the best starter the Red Sox had at the time. So it was nice to see him go out there and throw every 5 days, because generally, unless it was a daytime start, you knew what you were getting from Bello and knew that he was going to be your guy to get the job done. This year, we can't really say the same, but this most recent start against Texas was much needed for him, as well as his last few starts before that. So I'm hoping Andrew Bailey decided that it's worth just changing this approach with him moving forward and keeping him under wraps in terms of utilizing the fastball a little bit more, so that he can feel more confident as he goes through his outings, that he has the right combination of pitches for his pitch arsenal. So it's definitely good that he's been able to mix that in a little bit more. And he overall just looks more confident out there, more comfortable. So I feel like the break worked well for him. Some players, the All-Star break can hurt. For him, I feel like it was needed, and his few starts since the break have been very solid. So will he be able to maintain that level of competitiveness as these last couple months of the regular season unfold? That is going to be the big question here. And the Red Sox definitely do need it if they want to clinch a playoff spot, because at the end of the day, there are lots of other teams in these playoff standings right now that have very strong pitching. I mean, you look at the Seattle Mariners team, their starting rotation is incredibly solid, very reliable, multiple starters who can give you multiple innings and can be reliable on a game-to-game basis to pitch a quality start. The Red Sox don't have as much of that going on right now, but if Bello can stay pitching the way that he is and Tanner Houck can get himself back on track, that's a huge 1-2 punch right there for this Red Sox rotation, and everything else needs to fall into place. Other pitchers need to do their jobs. Bullpen also, guys need to come back healthy and be able to do their jobs out of the bullpen. You look at guys like Luis Garcia, Cooper Criswell, Cam Boozer, Lucas Sims, guys who come out of the pen in those middle innings of games to take over for starters or come in when there's base traffic. Those guys have to be on point and have to do their job. So everybody has to get it done. I'm hoping they all do. I'm sure Alex Cora will keep them motivated. This series win against the Rangers was a big step in the right direction. So let's hope that they are able to just continue to do what they're doing and that they can take care of business down the stretch here and get themselves into a playoff spot. Thanks for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sully does a great job talking about all things going on across Major League Baseball, so I highly recommend you check out his show next. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.